Now we're going to draw another female character, so new document here, a new layer, and back to the red brush tool here. For the head shape, I've got this oval shape and tapers in at the chin here, so I'm drawing a kind of slim character here, so a lot of the shapes that I'm drawing kind of taper in at points. So the torso here is a triangle, so we've got some nice angled shoulders, thins out towards the waist. The waist is circular, and then the legs from the thigh to the knee and the knee to the ankle, these are kind of triangles that taper in towards the end. So we've got lots of nice shapes that go into the next here. And the pose I've gone for is this kind of hunched over, uneasy stance. So it's almost as if she's struggling to stand on these high heels. So I think that makes sense with the theme we're working with, being a zombie. You know, they have trouble walking normally anyway, so I think just adding in some 5-inch heels or something like that would just make it even more difficult. So I just wanted to play with that idea with this character. So at the moment I'm just throwing down some basic shapes here, trying to get the pose right, thickening up the thigh on the leg there and bringing out the calf muscles just a little bit. Because the character's wearing high heels, you'll find that the calf muscles are slightly accentuated, so try and pop those out just a little bit. And moving up to the top of the torso, just working with some circle shapes here. So with this kind of character, you find yourself working with a lot of angles and round shapes. So we've got the roundness of the hips, and then the tapering of the triangles to the waist, and the thigh to the knee, and so on. Okay, so here with this hand, I've just roughed in a hand for the moment, just using a square, because I want to play around with this idea. I've got her holding like a handbag at the moment, so it's maybe she's been out for a night on the town, maybe been to a club or something, and you know, she's a zombie now, so we want to keep her in this kind of evening dress look for this character. So I'm trying to give each character a different look, so trying to incorporate lots of different costume ideas, scenarios, body shapes, and so on, so we can try and cover as many forms as we can. Okay, so just roughing in the fingers here, and again just using 3 fingers and a thumb for these characters here, trying to simplify all the lines. And this handbag, just the lock on the front, just a kind of little square there hollowed out, so it's kind of like this probably a gold or silver clip buckle on there. Okay, so the right hand there is going to be lurching out a little bit like we had on the first character, kind of you know, reaching out for something there. So just trying to work with that S curve. You'll see from the top of the body and around the hips to the knees, we've almost got an S shape there. So try and think about your curves when drawing the female form there. Okay, so here with a face, I kind of want to create this mouth here that's lunging as if to take a bite or attack, something like that. So a slightly more aggressive character than the ones we've drawn previously. So again, just trying to mix up the qualities we have between the characters, try and cover as much ground as we can within the genre we're working with here. Okay, so the hair, just wrapping this around, give the hair lots of volume, kind of puff it away from the head. You know, you've got the skull there, but she's got this big hair, so make sure you come away from the head quite a distance to create this kind of blow-dried effect, nice and bouncy. Okay, so coming down into the waist here, I just want to thicken this up. It was just a bit too thin there, I just want to add a bit more volume to the thighs there. It was just a bit too thin on that side. Okay, and using the transform tool here, I just want to lengthen the legs just a bit, trying to create a tall, slender character here, and the knee to the feet was just a bit too short. Okay, so you can see I'm just darting around from feature to feature, just looking at the big picture and then just quickly focusing in on areas, coming back out, just trying to get an overall picture of the character, make sure that everything balances up. So, you know, this is a very sketchy stage. We're adding lots of lines here, just working our way through it. Okay, so just trying to get some kind of a design to these high heels. We may make them a little bit higher later on. Maybe add a bit more angle to the foot there. But I think pose-wise, it's looking pretty good so far. Just bringing this down a bit. It was a bit too long for a forearm, so I just wanted to round off the elbow there and bring the size down just a tiny bit. So let's take the opacity down on this layer, create a new layer, and back to the blue brush, and we can start tracing now. So remember, even though you're tracing, try and look at things as you go. Don't get lazy and just think that you're tracing the design and it's finished. Make sure you look at things to see that they are the correct size and that they work within the design. So you can see here, I've pulled that out just a bit more. The thigh was still a bit too thin for what I wanted, so I brought that out. So at this stage, we're still thinking about the strength of the design overall. So there still will be changes here and there. Okay, so just indicating the shape of the breast there. Okay, so that's looking fine. Okay, just adding a few little pieces there for the clothing, just some crease lines there. Okay, just thickening up the ankle just a tiny amount there, not a lot, and bringing down the angle of the foot. I just wanted to make that steeper stiletto there, just to focus in on the fact that these are high heels, the feet are pointed down, so we're looking at this idea of them being tricky to walk on in general, but with the added kind of sense of being a zombie, they're going to be even more difficult to keep upright on. So I just wanted to point those feet down a bit more, play around with that idea a bit. Very simple shoe design there. So it's a good idea to study online some images of clothing, shoes, bags, just so when you do start to design, you can just straight away have a design in your head and know which shapes to go for to create it. Okay, so this arm here, you can see it's just a curve there. We've not got a definite bend in the elbow as we do in the opposite arm there. So just turning off the red layer, flicking it on and off just to check the volume of everything. Changing the design of the dress there underneath the arm, just smoothing that out somewhat. So this type of character is a bit more difficult to draw than the others because you have got a lot going on with regards to angles, and things like that. There's a lot going on, so it does take a bit of focus, more so than other types. When we were looking at the character of the old lady earlier, we had very simple shapes. We had the oval, if you remember, for the torso, and that covered the neck to the knee area, and then we just drew two very simple rectangles for the legs. So very, very simple technique there. But this, we've got a lot going on. We've got different shapes from the chest going into the waist going into the thigh to the knee, and so on. So there's a lot of shapes going on there. So a good idea to study anatomy in general whilst creating cartoons. It's a good idea to have knowledge of all the bones, the muscles, and so on. Okay, so here on the face, we're just trying to accentuate this kind of hungry attack expression here. So we've got the teeth, both sets on display here, so very looking very kind of aggressive at this point. We've got big cheekbones, angry eyebrows, so we've pointed those down a bit, but we've tried to keep the lips full, voluptuous, and keep the eyes kind of very feminine looking, even though we've got a zombie here. I've just added a slight bag under the eyes there. Okay, so keeping the hair nice and volumised there, and you can see just the up curls on the bottom there. You don't need too many shapes again. We've just got one flick up coming off, and then two going down. So very simple design there, and effective. So again, that's a good idea with drawing females, is to study all the different hairstyles you can find. There's a lot of hairstyles out there. Some of them can be very, very tricky to duplicate in a drawing simply. It is difficult to get some of these hairstyles down on paper when these styles are all tied up at the back, on the side, and so on. So do pay attention to what's going on with the hair. Okay, so this handbag, it's a very simple design, just very rectangular, very simple buckle on the front there. So I guess we could make this perhaps a red handbag with a gold clasp on the front there. All depends on the colour of the dress we go for. I mean, we could go, obviously we're going to go for a kind of greenish tint for the skin tone. So we need something on the dress that's going to complement those colours. So we'll work out a colour scheme later on. And also for the hair, we could go blonde, red-haired, and so on. Or we could go the other way and make it more in keeping with the skin tone. So maybe we could go to a more of a purple hue, something like that. Okay, so these are pretty sharp fingers, very, very slender and tapered to the ends here, and you can see the way the fingernails are drawn on. They're almost part of the curve of the entire finger there. Just bringing the thumb in a bit. It's a bit too long before, so I'm just trying to figure out the shape of the thumb there. Always a tricky part to draw in. And there's a couple of bangles hanging off the arm here, so I just want to quickly sketch them in to see if they work. It's a good idea to try these ideas. If they don't work, you can just erase them. As you can see there, I think it just kind of detracts from the pose a little bit, so I may go back and take those out. So it just kind of clutters that area a little bit, so I think I'd rather just have that a bare arm there. Okay, so Just adding a few touches to the bag there. Indicating the ankles. Very simple shapes there. Okay, so just thickening this leg out just a bit more. Constantly looking at the volume of the different areas of the body here. And just bringing this in just a touch. Just want to keep that curve nice. Just one nice clean swoop there. We've got a bit more realism to this body shape than we did in previous characters, but I still want to keep it cartoony, so I don't want too many lines in there if I can help it. But for the most part, I think we're on track here to completing this character. So I'm just playing with the idea here of just putting some fishnet effect to the tights here, because I don't want to rip up the dress on the character. I think I just want to keep her facially zombified, but I don't want to go too mad with anything else. I don't want to, you know, having a look in too dishevelled. So I just want to put these fishnets on and just put a bit of a tear in there. But I don't want to add too much distress to this character overall. Okay, so now we're just casting an eye over areas where we can just tidy up a little bit. And we still have that option when we start to ink. You know, you may find we start to tweak things just a little bit more. Okay, but I think we're overall this looks almost where we want it to be. I just want to bring this heel in a little bit. It's sticking out just a little bit, so I just want to tuck it in just a touch. And here I just want to bring this out, just pull it outwards a bit. It's just a bit too squashed in, so I just want to bring it back just a tiny amount there, and just shave a bit off, just a bit too, the shape there wasn't entirely great there, so I just want to tweak that a little bit. Okay, so I'm happy with that, and at this point we can go in and start to ink it. Let's move